Sorry. So there is no difference. Narayana can give moksha, Devi also can give moksha. Narayana, and especially Lord Narayana, is known for like sthiti karanam, right? And for material benefits, absolutely he can bestow all of those, and so does Devi form, or so does Shiva form. To me, what I have understood from various gurus, the Vedic gurus or the Sri Vidya gurus or the Vedanta gurus and the yogic gurus, these are the four paths that I follow. It's exactly the same, that there is no difference, that you get it's not like a shop, right? Like you get toys from this shop and you get like, food from this shop. It's all of them ultimately emerge into that one form that can provide you what you need.
Okay, thank you very much.
Priji, one of my gurus, if I might interject just for
Please,
like
please.
a sentence, is that regardless of what you ask, whether it is a material or moksha, then just like a child goes to the mother, because many a times the wishes are fulfilled with certainty if you go to through the mother to the father. He always educates us or tells us that pray for the mother, then and mother is able to convince the father, knowing the mood of him, morning evening type thing.
Yeah.
So that's something that invariably like Mahalakshmi Kataksham, or
Yeah.
also he keeps talking about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've heard that so many times as well. And from my childhood, like I've been a daddy's girl, so I never had to go to my mother to ask anything from my dad. So I would just go tell him what I need, and he would just, dictate to my mother, okay, she wants that. Can we just get it done as soon as possible? So I'd prefer rather that. So jokes aside, that is what I think they say, and that's because what I recently understanding in the last 5 years is you're in so when we talk about the energy matter combination as the mother, right? Like anything Prakriti Purusha, if you take that kind of definition, Purusha is the consciousness. And consciousness is not interactable because you are the consciousness himself, right? So you are no different from that consciousness, but you are currently interacting with the energy and matter. You're living in this universe, and this world is what you're interacting with. Therefore, through mother, through the world, is how you can reach consciousness, which is your own self, is how I've understood it. I don't know if I explained it in the right way, but I think I've got a good understanding of why they say that very specifically. Anuji, I don't know if you agree with that.
Yes, I probably don't know as much of depth of how you explained, but I just wanted to say the simple terms that I remember every single time, because it keeps coming in other discussions and discourses also about the power of Mahalakshmi.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately, as you know, Shankaracharya says in Saundarya Lahari, right? Even Shiva is Shiva without you. So he says because there is no way for Father to our consciousness to interact with us other than this universe, that the world that is energy and matter, which is the Mother Swarupam. So very much true that, and there are like so many beautiful analogies that have helped me understand this concept. And there's one that says, I don't know what it is called in other languages. We call it parentam in Telugu, which is essentially like, if there is a golu, like, or some puja, then ladies visit those homes that, pujas are getting performed, and they get tambulam at that time. I don't know what it is called in Malayalam or Tamil or any other language. So and then, like, after mother visits, like, so many houses for the parentum, and she collects all the tambulams, and then she goes back home where father is actually waiting for, like, okay, where's my food, like I need to get get the day wrapped up. So they say it's like that, the consciousness like that spreads, interacts through mother, and mother is the one that actually does all these, like, external duties. It was explained in a much more beautiful way than I'm able to do right now. But I feel like, that's beautiful. Whenever we see a Suvasini, and just getting tambulams and all of that, we just kind of can relate to that in that way. Okay. So going into this set of 5 namas, so the first nama is the full line Srimad Vagbhava Kutaika Swarupa Mukha Pankaja. That is one nama. And the next nama is like, the 2 lines of 35th shloka are 2 namas, 1 line each. Kantada Katiparyanta Madhya Kuta Swarupini and Shakti Kutaika Tapanna Katyadho Bhaga Dharini. So that is 2 namas there. And then 36th shloka, first line has 2 namas. Mula Mantratmika is the first nama, and Mula Kutatraya Kalebara is the second, the other nama. So that makes it 5 namas. This is for the mantra swarupam. And I think we briefly started talking about it. So this particular mantra, which is considered one of the highly potent mantras, is called Panchadashi mantra. And I did mention previously, I think we've already started discussing about this now, I recollect a little bit. So in Sri Vidya, when we're talking, where mother is a primary deity, you give her any name. I did mention about Panchayatanam in the past, did I? Chaturayatanam or Panchayatanam? Anybody remembers if I did or not?
I don't remember hearing that.
Okay. So we did talk about these, right? So where we have like, Ganapati, Surya, Narayana. Oh, not showing that, sorry. Narayana and Shiva. So she is the Shakti of all of them, right? So that's how, like when we say mother, it is not whether we are talking about Parvati or Lakshmi or Saraswati or Santoshi Mata, like, you can give like as many names to mother as possible, but you're not talking about any individual mother. You're talking about the Shakti of all the consciousness forms of Bhagwan. So, so this Panchadashi is when we talk about Sri Vidya, we are talking about that Shakti. And again, when we say Shakti, we say like, oh, Shiva's wife is Shakti. That's not the case. It is Shakti of any deity. Okay, I don't even want to use the term deity. Sorry, I'm probably derogating saying that. So any form of Ishvara, Bhagavan, whatever names you want to give Bhagavan, she is the Shakti of everything. So Panchadashi is 15 syllabled mantra. And there are various levels in Sri Vidya. Sri Vidya is just praying to that Shakti of everything. And like, we talked about Chit Shakti, right? So we are praying to that. So there are levels in Sri Vidya. And they start us off with like first Ganapati mantra. And that's because Ganapati is the host of Mooladhara Chakra. He lives there. And as we previously talked about, without Ganapati's permission, even Shiva cannot reach Shakti, is what they say. So starting from that, so in order to activate the Kundalini, or like in order to activate the energy, the Prana Shakti within us, or Chik Shakti within us, so that is where it needs to start. So they provide Ganapati mantra after a lot of rituals, just making sure that this person is ready for what they are seeking. And then there are layers. There is a Bala Parameshwari mantra. We have seen Bala in one of the previous shlokas there. And then there are layers after that to reach Panchadashi. And Panchadashi is like the second penultimate mantra. And there is one more level to go up, which is called the Purna Diksha. So in this Panchadashi mantra, it's quite powerful. There are 15 syllables in all. And it is broken, I won't call it, it is distinct into 3 sections. The first section is 5 syllables. And the second section is 6 syllables. And the third section is 5 syllables. There is one common syllable among all 3 of them. But each of these are very, very unique syllables that I won't be able to say out loud, as you can imagine. So what they're talking about in these three namas that we're just looking at, the first kutam, and we've seen this in the like the Lalita Sahasranamam Purvanyasa as well, when we said Asya Shri Lalita Sahasranama Stotram. So Srimad Vagbhava Kutam is the first kutam, the first 5 syllables. The second syllable, the 6 syllables, is called as Madhya Kutam, which is the name that is provided in the Lalita Sahasranamam. But the actual name for it is called Kamaraja Kutam. And the third set, which is the 4 syllables one, so that is called as the Shakti Kutam. So these are meant to give the Trivargas. And when we say Trivargas, it's Purusharthas kind of categorized in 3 sections. And first one is Dharma, stays as Dharma. Kama and Ardha, which is more of the material things, they get combined into one Vargam. And the third section, Moksha, is the third Vargam. So that the third part of the mantra is for that purpose. So we'll look at each of these individually. So we'll take these 3 first, and then we'll try to go into the next 2 namas. Let me see if I can finish these 3 in 10 minutes, because I would like not to break them into 2 classes. So this subtle form has 3 divisions: subtle, subtler.
Sridevi ji, just a quick question. Like just now you said about this Panchadashi mantra, right? So, so do you recite it, or I mean?
It's to be done as japam, but we do a lot more with it than japam.
Okay.
So any tantra is a practical approach. So there is, we talked about it earlier, I think, like we said there are 3 things, right? Mantra, yantra, and tantra.
Correct.
And mantra is simple mantra, you do japam. And then there is a yantram. Holding it, keeping it in the house probably is not as effective as knowing the technique, which is the tantra, on how to use the mantra in order to activate the yantra, so you can actually activate yourself with all of these 3. So it's kind of a connection between like the mantra and the yantra and the form that you are praying to yourself. So that is the technique. So with Panchadashi, at least in Sri Vidya Tantram, which is what I follow, and there is like Kumara Tantram, there is a Kamala Narayana Tantram, which also I follow, and there are like specific mantras for that. And then there's Sharabha Tantram, like Dasha Mahavidyas, like Tara Tantram. I have a whole bunch of like scriptures, literally in the original Tala Patra kind of like writings. I have so many of those books. I've never had a chance to go through all of them. At some point in my life, maybe when I retire. But each of those tantras help us have techniques to activate the mantra and the yantra. Make sense?
Okay. I mean, I didn't understand fully, but I will catch up with you sometime. Separately, maybe I should not take too much of time here. I'll catch up with you, yeah, sometime later.
Okay, sounds good. See. So the first, representing the 15-syllabled mantra Panchadasi, we are talking about the subtle, subtler, and subtlest forms. And so what, Bhaskara Raya is talking about. So there is a sthula form that we talked about, the mother, and there is a subtle form, sukshma form. And in the sukshma form, he's saying there are 3 different divisions. One is the Panchadashi mantra. And the second is Kamakala, which we will talk about at some point. And then the third one is Kundalini, which we kind of have some idea what it is. So the first described under three names: Shri Mat, having power of conferring wisdom and other exalted powers; Vagbhava, that by which a person attains the power of speech; Vagbhava Kuta is the group of first 5 syllables. That's the extent that he explains it, and he doesn't go into a lot of detail after that. So and what here it's saying is like, Srimad Vagbhava Kutaika Swarupa Mukha Pankaja. Mother's Mukha Pankajam is the Swarupam of the first 5 syllables of the mantra. So now they are trying to merge the mantra into the physical form of the mother. So there is no distinction between the two. And face is where we have like our jnanendriyas, right? Like how we get knowledge and how we convey. It's all in the face with the eyes and all the sense organs there. So this is very much to get the knowledge. The first, that is what the first kutam is about. Okay, we'll try to skip to the next one. From the throat to the waist, she represents the Madhya Kutam. So Kantha, so till here is the first Kutam, and from Kantha till the waist part, it is the Madhya Kutam. Madhya Kuta or the Kamaraja Kuta that's the official name for it. A group of 6 syllables. It is said as Kama, desire to create the universe resides in our heart, thy heart. Of the second part, it's called the Kamaraja. O Amba, as thou art about to create. The next, it's called as the Shakti Kuta. Okay, so sorry, let me not go into that. But the whole creation aspect, the desire aspect, and which is what we were talking previously about the Ardha and Kama, that being in the Madhya Kuta. And Shakti Kutaikatapanna Katya Adho Dharini. Kati is waist, Kati Adha, which is below Kati, from Kati till the feet, and we have seen what the Stula perform, right? Like, Aruna Kausamba Vastra Basat Kati Tati, the sari that she's wearing, and the feet and the mettes that she was wearing, like the toe rings. So we looked at all of that. So all of that is the Shakti Kutam. And Shakti Kutam is a group of the last 4 syllables. And this gives moksha. So this is how they connect Purusharthas to the mantra. And doing it together, this mantra or this doing Lalita Sahasranamam bestows to you all the 4 Purusharthas is what ultimately it's trying to explain. Did that make sense?
Guruji, can you repeat the last one, Guruji? The 4 syllable once again?
Yeah, the 4 syllable one is called as the Shakti Kutam, and it starts from mother's waist till her feet, and all the description that we read about that in the past few shlokas. And it confers moksha. So what we are asking for is knowledge, which is represented as dharma, and with the first part of the first kutam, and then Vagbhava Kutam, and then the Kamaraja Kutam, the Ardha and Kama, with the Shakti Kutam, Moksha. Make sense? So each of those 15 syllables again have like each syllable has like intense meaning on why that syllable at that place makes sense and why that should be chanted in a certain way. I told you, right? Like there is a Bhaskara Raya himself wrote a book called Varivasya Rahasyam, which is like probably 500 page book. And it only talks about Panchadasi, from how long it should take to chant to like what exactly it is. So there is a whole detail that goes into it. So I can't speak to all of that due to time constraints as well as some restrictions on what I can and cannot say. I could probably go a little deeper. And whenever time permits, I'll share some additional details about this. It's one of those very powerful mantras. And because of that power, there is also the proper methodology that needs to be followed and knowing to do it the right way. It's not like, pick a book and start reading like, library. It's something that needs to be taken a lot more seriously, is how it's explained. Okay.
Vidyaranya's book also talks about it, right?
Which one? Sorry?
Sri Vidyaranya. Swami.
Yeah. And any Srividya Tantram, without speaking about it in a lot of detail, doesn't go forward. This is where it actually starts. Everything else before this, all the other steps before this are very preparatory to gain this. And this one takes into a lot of detail. Literally, I might be able to. This is half my binder.
Wow.
That's my daily puja. and there is another half which is more of the meditative part. And my son jokes about it. He's in university and he says your textbook is crazier than mine. Lots of detail goes into it, and everything has it just sometimes it kind of could feel overwhelming, but you also are proud that you're not just given a 300-page book that says these are do's and don'ts and just follow this. And if you don't follow, you get sin. And if you follow, you get this. So that's thankfully not our culture, not we are born into. So we should be just thankful like a million times to Bhagavan for even being born into Hinduism.
Yes, true. Thank you.
Okay, I think there are 2 more minutes, so I don't want to go into the next one because I'd like to, maybe I should. No, I think I want to go into a little more detail. Mula Mantratmika, so maybe we'll just touch on it briefly. This is called the Mula Mantram when it's given as Diksha from a guru. So she is the Mula Mantra Atmika. So she herself is this Mula Mantra, and Mula Kuta Traya Kalebara. Her body is of these 3 kutas, which is we just talked about. It kind of summarizes what was being said in the first 3 namas and these last 2 namas. And next week we will talk about a new set that we are going to start, which is Kulamritaika Rasika till Akula. So kind of from the 36th shloka, first line, second line, 37th shloka, the whole first line, and first namam of the second line. That is one set. And this is all about Kundalini. So we'll go into that next week. Any final thoughts before we conclude?
I don't know if sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I'm right or wrong. And just as you're talking, I'm thinking so if we technically take our body itself, so each place, this is how, the first kudam, second kudam, third kudam, right? So I think, I don't know, telling this, it'll awaken our, knowledge or whatever.
Correct.
And then it starts reverberating. I don't know. Is that way that the mantra releases that energy?
Absolutely. So what happens, I think I'll just probably take up another 2 additional minutes to explain. So when we are enlivened with Prana Shakti, a lot of it is not required. So there is the sukshma form, which is the arteries and veins and the blood flows and the oxygen flows and circulation, whatever systems that we studied in our grade school. All of those do exist as the stula forms. But the Prana Shakti, what happens is there is only limited amount that is required to run the body. So that just happens to be just working through the body. But a lot of this Prana Shakti goes and sits in the Mooladhara Chakra. And we'll talk about it starting from those additional namas on what that Mooladhara Chakra is and how that works. But what we are trying to do is to awaken a little more portion of that Prana Shakti and to flow through the rest of the body and to flow into us to gain the additional knowledge and kind of goes beyond the worldly stuff. And if anybody actually does all of this to gain some additional there are siddhis people get and all of that, and if that is the goal, they're just on completely wrong path, at least in my view, and I'm a nobody. But it actually think about it, an average person apparently uses some 7 to 10% of their memory power. But if somebody uses it to a 12 to 13%, they're considered a lot more intelligent. So it's something similar to that you're activating the energies and utilizing that not for material purposes, but to go into a more spiritual progress is what you're looking for, and ultimately being able to get the jnanam, enough jnanam to understand Bhagavan and merge with him. So that's the kind of concept. Did that make sense?
Yeah, Guruji, thank you very much.
Guruji, can you please chant Sloka 35 for me once? I
Sure.
just need to.
Sounds good. Because I don't like to break the mantra into that, so I'll chant 34 as well, if you don't mind. Hara netragni sandagdha kama sanjeevanaushadhihi Srimad Vagbhava Kutaika Swarupa Mukha Pankaja Kanthada Katiparyanta Madhyakootaswarupini Shakti Kutaikatapanna Katyadho Bhagadharini. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and even this chanting this the right way with the correct emphasis on the Mahapranas and just doing the Dirghams and the Visargas correctly and all of that with following the chanting rules, you will actually feel the vibration in your body. And it activates like the 72,000 Nadi channels that have been mentioned in the yogic texts that are not visible to like, on a microscope or something like that. They're like, subtle Nadis. So those get activated. The chakras get activated. So there are so many things that are happening within our body when we chant any of these Sahasranamams or any shlokas, anything that has been given to us in the Vedas. So when you're chanting, just be a little more mindful of the impact it is having within yourself. Okay, with that, we'll conclude. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Sarvam Sri Paradevatarpanamastu. Thank you so much for your time and the extra 4 minutes. We'll catch up next week.
Thank you so much for your time, Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sriji.
Dhanyavadaha.